Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowes.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
Welcome to the Irish NFL Show in association with QuinnBet. We are part of the Believe Network, of course, and at time of recording, we're about 24 hours out from the LA Rams making a blockbuster trade to help put them over the top in the quest to win another Lombardi. And we're delighted to have with us a man who knows a thing or two about what it takes to get your mitts on that particular silverware. Mark Schlereth won 3 rings, 1 with the Commanders and 2 back-to-back with the Broncos. You may also know him, of course, from his prolific broadcasting output, including the Stinkin podcast. Like and subscribe to that show, please, right after you get done liking and subscribing to the Irish NFL Show. Mark, great to have you back. I was looking back at the last time we spoke to you, which was just on the eve of the Conference Championship games, the January before last. How have you been?
I've been great, man. Everything is good. We're just plugging away. Been very busy, creating, as you mentioned, on the Stinkin podcast, growing the Stinkin podcast. I do a local radio show in Denver, Colorado that I've done for the last, 11 years, just about. So that part has been good, and getting ready to broadcast another season of NFL games. So it couldn't be better, man. Just busy, traveling around, doing a bunch of stuff, and spending a lot of time getting my yard right. So those are my things. Football and yard work. That's all I really do.
Well, it's a pretty good balanced existence as far as I can see, Mark. Good for you. We heard you chopping up on the Stinkin' Truth podcast this Myles Garrett trade, this blockbuster Myles Garrett trade, which also, let's put some respect on his name, is a Jared Verse trade. And I'm interested in your take from the Browns' perspective, because I think this is one of those rare moves that seems, for me, from my amateur perspective, to be a win for both sides. I see both teams coming out of this pretty well. It seems to be the right move for Myles, the right move for the Rams, and arguably the right move for the Browns too.
Yeah, the only loser is Jared Verse going from LA to Cleveland like that. But here's what I say. I got so many people that analysts and different guys I know. Clearly, the Rams won, because they get the best pass rusher of his generation. And obviously, he may be the best pass rusher, go down as the best pass rusher in history. The guy is a freak show. I called the game last year. I called several Cleveland games last year, but I called a game against the New England Patriots where he had 5 sacks or 5.5 sacks. I mean, he was ridiculous. And so he is a phenomenal football player. There's no question about that. But as you mentioned, put some respect on Jared Verse's name. Jared Verse is a full-grown ass man. That dude. So I was doing a breakdown. I was breaking down the Rams and Philadelphia Eagles, a game. I think it was week 2 or 3. Simply because I don't have a life other than football and yard work. And as I'm watching that, and everybody here in the stateside that would say, if I say, hey, give me a list of your best offensive lines in football, Philadelphia would come in everybody's top 3, everybody's. And I'm watching Jared Verse just dispense freaking justice. They can't block him. I mean, they can't block him in the run game. They can't block him in the pass game. The dude is all over the place. And I look at these things and I say, man, Jared Verse is a 2-time Pro Bowler in 2 years. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. This dude is a player that's ascending, who's in his early 20s. Myles Garrett will be 31, I think, in December of this year. And ultimately, if you look at the Cleveland Browns right now, I think there's a couple things that they're saying right here. Listen, by the time that we get good and we solve our quarterback conundrum, Myles Garrett's going to be on the downside. He's going to be slipping. And so we'll give him the opportunity to chase a championship, because certainly I believe the Seahawks got hot last year at the end of the year, and they were incredible. What they did, what they did the last game of the season to the San Francisco 49ers, there are guys doing 5 to 10 in the state pen that did less to get there than what the Seattle Seahawks did to the 49ers. I mean, that was an ass whooping of biblical proportions. So, they were playing great at the time, but I thought from about week 7 on, the Rams were the best team in football last year. Now you add the best pass rusher in all of football to the Rams, And the last time they made a blockbuster trade like this, if you remember, was Stafford, Matthew Stafford, and they did go to the Super Bowl. Now, there's been guys that have moved from team to team, went to the Super Bowl. Brady left New England and went to Tampa. They won the Super Bowl. Cooper Cup, 2024, left Seattle. 2025 play or left, excuse me, the Rams went in 2025 to Seattle and they won the Super Bowl. But this is a trade in the last prominent trade that I could figure out that it ended in a Super Bowl championship was the Matthew Stafford trade. So, for the Rams, it's great. For Cleveland, letting him go to a place where it looks like he's going to have an opportunity. And then also for the Cleveland Browns, they get Jared Verse, who is like his proven established player. They're going to get a first round draft choice, which is probably going to be 20s or 30s at best. Um, and then they get another draft pick down the road, whatever it is. I think it was a second rounder down the road, but maybe that was in 2028 if I remember correctly. But anyhow, long story short, to me is this is twofold. You're getting a great player. You're getting a first round pick that you're going to couple with your first round pick, and you don't think you're going to be very good, and you're going to be in you're going to be in the Manning sweepstakes next year. So I think the Arch Manning sweepstakes. So I think what they're telling you is, you know, we like our quarterbacks. Like there's a lot of people that like players. There's players you like. Um, that's the old. You're not going to put a ring on it, but we like him. Like we like Shador. We like Dylan Gabriel. We like Watson. But do we have our quarterback of the future? And by this trade, it tells you they know that they don't, and that's why they made the trade.
Looking at Myles Garrett, though, Mark, I mean, you had literal frontline experience staring down past rushers of this ilk. What do you have to do to stop this guy? I mean, he gets chipped and double teamed at a higher rate than any other pass rusher in the NFL.
Mhm.
Nobody has any doubt about what they're facing when he's on the field. It's not like the D line he's joining are any slouches either. This is lethal.
Yeah, no, it is, and he's one of those guys. They always say in the NFL, an elite level corner can shut down one receiver, an elite level pass rusher shuts them all down. Like that's who he is. And I made this point when I was calling the New England game. I was like, man, New England does not know what they're doing when it comes to blocking Myles Garrett. And their plan was they would keep the tight end on Miles for 1,000, and then get him out in the pattern. And then the tackle would take over. And that was their form of a double team. And so Miles would just shed the tight end quickly and he'd be one on one with the tackle. And they were at different levels. So the tight end would take him first and the tackle would set and wait for him. That's not a double team. That's two single teams. And he's just whipping their ass. I mean, he's just all over the place. And I'm like, on the broadcast, I'm like, well, you got to vice that guy. And you know what you got to say? We're not getting five out in the pattern, guys. We're getting four out in the pattern because that one tight end or that running back or whatever, we're not going to chip them. We're going to chip and stay. And so I thought their plan, I thought New England's plan was horrible. But then I did a Tennessee game, and Tennessee did a great job. And one of the things I always thought that we did really well in my years in the league, whether it was with Washington, whether it was with Denver, is like we were really good. We really understood pass pro. I mean, in Washington in 1991 with the Washington Redskins, 1991, we played 19 games on our way to a world championship. We gave up 9 total sacks, 9 in 19 games. It's a record that will probably never ever be broken. Like it's phenomenal. And that was back in the day when everything wasn't a swing pass, wasn't a bubble screen. It was like we dropped back 7 steps and we let it eat. And so like different, but we knew how to do things. And so I thought one of the things we always did exceptionally well was in the run game. Anytime you have an elite player, we don't run away from elite players. We run at them. We make them defend the run. We try to get their asses on the ground. We try to load them with a fullback and then a tackle. We try to beat the living snot out of them. And then we throw it behind them. So now all of a sudden we've run it at them. Now let's throw it behind them with some screens and some quick slants and some other things to make that guy start his pass rush, have to stop, flip his hips, turn around and chase the ball. And we're going attacking him. And so that we wear his ass out to the point where this guy doesn't know what's coming. and it slows him down. And if you go back and look at the Tennessee game, he was so frustrated. He did get a sack in that game, but he did not get a sack over the left tackle. He got a sack on a game. They looped him inside. He was late, and he finally got, what I would consider, I don't want to call it a garbage sack, but it was kind of a coverage. We looped him around because we can't get him free on the edge. Tennessee did a great job. Mike McCoy over there, obviously, has been in the NFL for a long time. They had a great understanding of what they were going to do and how they were going to attack him. But the thing you have to understand when you have an elite level pass rusher like that is, as an offensive lineman, that's the first indicator. Is we break the huddle, ready, break, and we go, okay, where's 95? And how are we dealing with that guy? And how are we communicating that? And it becomes one of those things that's the first thing you think about when you break the huddle. So the quarterback is on it, and it becomes part of his progression. Check 95, make sure we got him. Then we go to our rhythm throw. Then we go to our one hitch throw. Then we go to our two hitch throw. And we're not going to get beyond that. So those guys, we used to call them war daddies. Those guys are a nightmare to play against. And you better have an exceptional plan when you play against one of them.
As a guy who made his living, as you say, trying to keep that quarterback jersey clean, it must gladden your heart to see the kind of contract that Tyler Linderbaum got in the offseason. Like, O-line guys are getting paid now, and why wouldn't they when they got monsters like Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons or Jared Verse coming at them?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think one of the things that gets overlooked, especially with a younger generation of football fans, and I don't blame them. They grew up like I grew up watching the game. So I grew up really understanding some of the history of the game and watching the game and falling in love with the game that way, and playing the game and doing all those things. Most of the kids, even the kids in the league, when I go call a game, and I'm old now, but when I go call a game, people don't know I played. They have no idea. They just think I'm a broadcaster. And it's really interesting to talk to them because most of the kids have zero history of the game. If I ask a kid that plays corner and is elite level corner, and I said, "Oh, who was some back in the day when you were a little kid? Who were the corners you liked?" "Oh man, I didn't really watch football. I played Madden." "Oh, yeah." Yeah, I asked one kid if he if this was literally. I bet you this was 6, 7 years ago when I first started. You kind of remind me. You kind of remind me of Darrell Revis Island, and he goes, like Revis had just retired like 5 years early. He goes, "Who's that?" And I'm like, I'm like, pardon my
Don't
French, are
even
you
realize the
like,
compliment I paid
yeah,
you.
I'm pardon my French, but I'm like, are you shitting me? You don't know who Darrell Revis is? And you play cornerback in the National Football League? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And so, it's different that way. The game is different that way from a level of history and understanding of what guys before you did. Um, but I love the fact that, to me, like, people are starting to recognize, this younger generation gets into throwing the football on every down, and getting over the top, and we need a big time, wide receiver. And to me, wide receiver is the most overpaid position in football. 10 other guys have to do their job for a wide receiver to make a play. It just becomes one of these overvalued positions. And I will tell you right now, as sure as I sit here, if you control the line of scrimmage, you win about 80% of the games in this league, regardless of who your quarterback is. And I came across this really cool thing on the internet the other day. Was since 2000, so this is a pretty big sample size. Since 2000, um, it was, and I'm going to paraphrase, I might not get this 100% right, but since 2000, the top 10 teams, when it came to drafting offensive linemen, number one was New England, and it went down to number 10, the Rams. Of those top 10 teams, when it came to drafting just offensive linemen, New England was at like 30 or 43, I think. New England had drafted 43 offensive linemen. The Rams had drafted whatever that they had drafted, 15 or 20, whatever it was. 7 of the top 10 teams had won more playoff games in that 26-year span than all the other teams. So New England had 33. They drafted 43 offensive linemen. They have won 33 playoff games. And it went all the way down to the Rams, who I think drafted 13 offensive linemen in that time and had, and had 13 or 14 playoff wins. And by the way, that's the Rams, who don't covet, you know, draft picks. They just give those things away like they're candy. They don't, they just want. But it was funny. That's how it was when I got drafted by the Washington Redskins in 1989. Joe Gibbs was our head coach, and Bobby Beathard was a Hall of Fame general manager. Bobby Beathard and Joe used to say, "Man, I will trade an unknown commodity for a known commodity in a heartbeat. First rounders don't mean anything to me." Now they mean more now, not because they're so much more valuable. There's still a 50-50 bust rate on first rounders. But why they mean a lot is because you have salary cap certainty for 5 years. Now, if the guy overperforms and he gets to the year 3 or 4 and he becomes a great player, you're going to pay that guy. But you've got a 5 year window where you know what you're going to spend on this guy. And that's really, to me, what is the length of the term, and the fact that you're managing this, it's 20, 30 million bucks or whatever it is nowadays, where even 15 years ago, when it was, Sam Bradford, he got $83 million, and, or Jamarcus Russell, who had, 60, $70 million, that, the guys couldn't play. And that's not that Sam Bradford couldn't play, but you know what I'm saying. They weren't what you had hoped they were going to be.
We talked a lot, obviously, about the moves that the Rams made in the offseason, not only the one we've just been talking about there with Myles Garrett, but what they did with Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson and so on. They've done a lot. I'm
Yeah.
interested by contrast, though, in that your former team, the Broncos, were comparatively quiet, indeed very quiet, up until that splash signing of Jalen Waddle. They clearly feel like they're very happy with what they already have. Have they done enough, do you think, to get back to where they want to be?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We've talked about it on my radio show a bunch. Let me just flip back to the Rams really quick, because there are reports that Aaron Donald might come back now. And if you put Aaron Donald, who I think is the best football player maybe I've ever watched, next to Myles Garrett, good luck. I get diarrhea just thinking about it, and I don't have to line up one time. So, I mean, that's an unblockable combination. But back to your Broncos question, the Broncos have this interesting philosophy, right? And it's culture first. It's the guys and how we're going to reward the guys that have done it the right way. And today, I don't know if you've even heard this news. Today, they solidified a deal with Pat Surtain. So Pat Surtain, they signed him 2 years ago. The contract doesn't kick in till this year. He got his upfront money, whatever, but the contract kicks in this year. They came back to him. He's got 4 years. The contract now kicks in 4 years. But now he's gone from the number one paid corner in football 2 years ago to about the sixth or seventh corner paid. So they came back to him, and said, "Hey, man, we just going to give you $5 million more on your contract, and then give you a $5 million incentive bonus if you go to the Pro Bowl or All Pro." And so here's a found $10 million if you're healthy. 5 million for sure, but 10 million if you can stay healthy. And that's the kind of thing that resonates in a locker room. So you see a guy that's a professional football player and who is great at what he does. And the Broncos have done that in the last 18 months. I was talking to George Payton, their general manager. In the last 18 months, I think they have signed 10 guys on their roster to new contracts. 10 guys that have done it the right way. I'm talking about Nick Benito, Alex Singleton, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, now Pat Surtain. They just redid his contract. I mean, it goes on and on. Quinn Miners, Garrett Bowles. Like, it goes on and on. Cortland Sutton, on and on and on. And what that says in the locker room, man, if I'm a professional and I do things the right way and I'm good in the community and I'm great on this football team, I'm going to get rewarded. And not only does it, like, they didn't sign free agents from other teams because they were like, there's nobody out there in free agency that we covet more than we covet our own players. And I love the philosophical approach, because what I say about free agency, and it's not always 100% true, but it's closer to 100% than you think. In free agency, when it hits, you're paying A+ money for B- players. And so, like, if you've got a dramatic hole you got to fill, I get it. You got to do it. Now, it worked in New England last year. It was incredible. The Milton Williams kid they from Philadelphia, I think that's his name. He was phenomenal last year. Robert Spillane was good. Jack Gibbons was great. Harold Landry was awesome. I mean, they signed Stephon Diggs was incredible last year. He's one of those guys you got to sign on a year-to-year deal because nobody really wants to deal with him for more than a year. But because he's got his own issues. But like they did a phenomenal job in free agency. It worked out for them. I do happen to believe if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt, they lose in the AFC Championship, and Denver represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. But um, injuries are part of the game. I get that. So, long story short, I think the Broncos feel really good about the team they've assembled, really good about what they've done. And then you add Jalen Waddle, who is a great, like not a good kid, but a great kid. And a lot of people will tell you he's a product of having Tyreek Hill on the other side. As a rookie, he had over 1,000 yards, and I don't remember how many catches, 80 or 79, something like that. But he had over 1,000 yards without Tyreek Hill. He is a legit big time number one receiver. And if you look at, everybody talks about his over the top speed, and he's got speed to burn. Like he's got all kinds of speed, and he catches some over the top. And so there's a couple things that you have to understand. He can catch those over the top, and so he threatens safeties on that side. So you always feel like you got to keep somebody over the top to make sure you protect them. Well, what does that do for you on that side of the football field? It opens up your run game because safety is going to be late to enter the box and make tackles. So 2 yard or 3 yard gains become 4 and 5 yard gains because you have a guy that can run like the wind out there. He's a deer. And if you really look at his big time plays, if you really looked at his explosives on a football field, I guarantee you, I haven't counted them, but I guarantee you a vast majority of them come on 10 to 12 yard in cutting routes where he catches it what they call a drift. So they come off play action. He drifts into the middle line, into the middle of the field at about 12 yards. Man, you hit him in stride. He hits it, and then whoo, by the safety. They've got a corner rolled up on the other side. They've got his receiver out there running a hitch, and he is just freaking gone. And the safeties turn and go, oh, shoot, we're in trouble as he's running down the sideline. That's where the majority of his explosives come from. So he's going to be an unbelievable compliment to Cortland Sutton on the other side. I think it's people complain about, oh, it's a first round pick. Like, who cares? You're not going to get a better player than that at number 30. As a matter of fact, I went through the last. This would be fun if you look on it in your show. I went through the last number 30 overall picks in the last 10 seasons, the 2026 not included. So I looked at the last 30 picks. DJ Watt was a 30th overall pick. Karloftis was a 30th overall pick. Pretty good players. Beyond that, like there was Noah Igbinoghene, who's played. He's a good player. He's played for 3 or 4 different teams, whatever. But other than that, there were probably in that top 10, there are 2 guys that are universally recognizable. There was 2 or 3 two other guys that were good players. And there were 6 or 7 guys I'd never heard, or 6 guys or 5 guys I'd never heard of. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of that guy, right? And so, like, you're getting an all-pro receiver in Jalen Waddle at 30, and people are complaining. I'm like, stop it. You essentially traded him for a 3rd round pick because you swapped that for your 30th overall pick, and then you gave him a 3rd rounder.
And I just Googled that quickly, Mark, while you were talking. Yeah. And please, Omar Cooper, go and have yourself a great season for the New York Jets and make that number 30 pick count.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. So I just think that's incredible. The other thing that I think people will look at and say, well, they gave up less to get A.J. Brown. Well, you also have to understand that A.J. Brown going to New England expects to get a new contract. So you may have given up less in draft compensation a little bit. They gave up a 1st rounder in 2028 and I think a 5th rounder in 2027. But what you have to understand is it comes with, you got to rip up that contract and sign a new big deal. The value of Jalen Waddle right now is the 22nd highest paid receiver in football, and he's locked up for the next 2 or 3 years. So for the Broncos to say, hey, we'll give you a little bit more in draft compensation with that 3rd rounder, we'll give you a little bit more there. We're okay doing that. simply because we've got salary cap certainty with a guy who we think is a number one receiver. So we'll give you a little bit more in the compensation package because we're taking on a contract that we don't have to rip up and redo. So that really is the difference between what AJ Brown is doing, or what New England's doing with AJ Brown, and what the Broncos were able to do with Waddle.
They'll be very happy with that contract if he's the player that puts them over the top. Mark, pleasure talking
Yes.
to you on the Irish NFL show. Really appreciate you taking the time out with us.
Anytime, man. Always great being with you guys, and I hope at some point, you guys bring me out to Ireland and we whoop it up.
Well,
I was saying
fingers
on my radio show. I was saying on my radio show today. So my daughter is like really tight friends with Bono's daughter, and so like you guys will just have to fly me over there, and I could probably stay at Bono's place. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing. I don't know him, but I'm thinking maybe. I could stay over there.
I'm sure we can hook you up, Mark, and you can bring Bono and Ali and Eve and all of them out. We'll show them a good Irish NFL show time.
Yeah.
We will whoop it up, and fingers crossed we'll have a game in Dublin again next year.
Oh man,
the NFL can make that happen.
I would love to be the guy that gets to come lobby for me, to be the guy that gets to come out to Dublin. It'd be a tremendous coup. So let's make that happen. I'll get all you Irish football fans, just get on the NFL, get on Fox, and tell them if we get an Ireland game, you got to have the one broadcaster and one broadcaster only that we want. Is me. So hit him up. Stink. Say, hey, Stink has got to be the guy.
Bring Stink to Ireland Inc. from your lips to God's ears, Mark. We'll make it happen. Pleasure
All
talking
right,
to you. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Take care.